Morning everybody, how are you today? Well, the dogs are running about the park. Okay, so Millionaire Mindset, create a win-win situation. What's that all about? Okay, so let me talk about my career. Early on in my accountancy career, one of the most noticeable things I'd experienced while climbing the corporate ladder in industry was the amount of in-house fighting that went on within the same company. I couldn't believe it. You see society all the time educated everyone that the whole system is designed like a pyramid. And everyone starts off at the bottom and works their way up, climbing over each other and stabbing each other in the back. Well, I was quite naive and had no idea how to play the game. But as I worked harder and smarter and learned more from my bosses over the years, they tried to teach me to do the same thing. Morning, Andrea. It wasn't nice, and it went completely against my beliefs. That's something you should never do, or it will torment you for the rest of your life. But that's another story, So often I would take a stand and mount my own personal protest. I remember at 20-year-old, when the salary negotiations were going on one year in a company. Morning, David. The directors told me to deliberately hold back the orders in the pipeline so they can tell everybody they've got less business coming in and they've not got much coming through, so to get them to convince them to take a lower wage salary increase. And I didn't expect that, and it wasn't, to me it wasn't right. And it came to the gifts out at Christmas and shake the managing director's hand. Morning, Francis. And I actually took a stand, and I didn't actually take the gift from him, and I didn't shake his hand, and I told him why I'm not shaking his hand. But that was an early indication for me that, it didn't sit well with me, the corporate world. My immediate boss took me aside at the time and explained to me that that's how everything operated, and it was normal practice not to be too concerned, and the MD didn't actually take offence because he fully understood why I did it. My boss was a great guy. He often gave me lots of flexibility to develop my skills, hone my talent, and he would give me work that challenged me rather than actually made me bored. He always encouraged me and taught me how to do everything, and asked and allowed me to learn as much as I wanted to learn, and he supported me in that way. Morning, Louise. I still see him today, actually, and I recently took the opportunity to thank him for his help and getting me so far. He didn't realise he'd done it. He was quite surprised when I said that to him. Morning, Mike. I firmly believe that everyone comes into your life as a lesson and a blessing. I've even taken the opportunity to thank the ones that actually bullied me through my career, as it actually pushed me to do better. I think they were actually quite surprised and taken aback. Anyway, back to the in-house fighting. The classic was always the board meetings. Often the actual meeting took place before we actually got into the room and got the official meeting done. And what they did was we all got around a table and we decided who would ask what question to get the answer we wanted in order to get the board meeting to go the way we wanted. And that's really how board meetings work today, and even in politics today as well. Everything's decided before you actually get into the room. And if you're not on the inside, in the inner circle, then you've no clue what's going on. And that's how to be a good politician. I also remember when I was a financial director playing the same game sometimes, as this was the only way you can get anything done. It was horrible, and again it went against my beliefs, but this is how everybody played, including the unions as well, which really surprised me. Morning, Sam. Why can't they just agree and get on with it? I just couldn't get that, why they had to start. One started at 20% and one started at 5%, and they worked towards the middle. Why couldn't they not just say, well, that's what it is and take it? And that's what we can give, a win-win situation. But there seemed to be always disagreement with everything. I distinctly remember I was brought into a company that was struggling to save it, and after reviewing everything, it was clear that they couldn't trade their way out of it, the situation, so they had to make redundancies in order to cut the costs. Morning, Anne-Marie. Morning, Stephen. We were all asked to make recommendations about who should go, and while every other director gave quick responses, I asked for a list of employees, their background and their circumstances, and tried to work out who would actually survive with the redundancy. Morning, Richard. I'm reading my notes, folks. The rest of them just laughed. Basically, morning, Francis. Well, I explained that we can't actually make both husband and a wife redundant, surely, as they would have no income coming in. And another single mum was only getting 1 week redundancy. And how the hell would she survive just for 1 week's money for the rest of the month? So I convinced them to actually pay more than what was actually due on occasions, so people would survive. Morning, Wanda. I even stood with the managing director holding back the tears. Keep it together. While we announced we was going, and while the other directors stood, the other directors actually stood hiding in the crowd. Couldn't believe it. Well, I mean, total cowardice. Total absolute cowardice. They sat and hid in the crowd while we were announcing redundancies. Morning, Karen. After all it was all over, I even told the managing director he didn't need me anymore, and he could get a part-time bookkeeper at half the price, and I'll just find another job. That company's still trading today, so I'm actually really glad that I arrived to more or less help them save it. And people are still working today in jobs as a result of that. I knew there had to be a better way, but it was only when I met Councillor Anthony Craig. Yeah, Anthony Craig, the councillor. He showed me a better way. Now, this was 2006, 2007. He had introduced me to a mentoring system that was instrumental in accelerating me to where I am today. A system that you could help each other succeed, and as a result, you could be successful yourself. I had found my calling. It aligned with my beliefs, my integrity, my honesty, and helping others. You see, if you look at every other successful person in sport and business and charities or anything, you'll probably notice that they're not takers, they're givers. They didn't climb over everyone to get where they were, and they didn't stab anybody else in the back. They lifted each other up, and instead of comparing themselves to each other or negatively competing against each other, they competed against themselves to be better every day. They strived each day to be better than the person they were the day before, and they celebrated each other's successes and helped each other up, even in times of need. Could you imagine if we had a society where everyone thought like this? This is where I come back to my original headline. It is possible to create a win-win situation every time. No one really needs to lose. Society, though, conditions us that we'll have to have a winner and we'll have to have a loser. Look at gambling. There's a winner and there's a loser. The games we play, there's always a winner and there's a loser. Now, you may think I've taken leave of absence and I've gone nuts, but I get to do this every day as a businessman. I get to match a buyer and a seller and come to an agreement where both parties are happy with what they're paid and what they got. I get to train and develop people where both parties are... I get to train and develop people to their full potential and help them overcome their fears. I get to watch them grow and develop with my very own eyes. They become friends and we work as a team. And they become a family. It's not utopia, though sometimes we fall out. But we work as a team and we quickly forgive each other. I get to meet and talk with people far more successful in their field than me, and I get to learn from them. And that's the reason I love what I do, and that's the reason I'm doing this. So go out and look at ways to create a win-win situation if possible. Because it is some people's calling. And it doesn't need to be where somebody loses and somebody wins. Everybody can win, and everybody can help each other. And I'll see you tomorrow at 7:30.